I've just put up a Paul Nicholls horse. Clown. Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Ante Up. It's in the middle of Christmas and New Year, so you're very lucky that we've taken the time out of our busy family schedules to be speaking to you. I mentioned about some questions if anyone wanted to send any through. Had a few that came through which I've managed to answer beforehand that weren't really relevant for this, but there is 3 that we've whittled it down that we'll be talking about. We'll obviously be reviewing some of the action that's already happened, taking a slight glance at some stuff that might be coming up, and then banging out some selections. So, Matthew, how are you? How was your Christmas?
Yeah, really good, mate. Thanks.
Bored? Enough of that.
No
one
it's
wants to
just...
hear about your Christmas.
What, mate?
No one wants to hear about your Christmas.
No, they don't, do they? They don't really. It's just busy, innit? Just busy, kids, the lot, trying to watch the racing.
Definitely. So how have you found it? Because I know that like Christmas time does get stupidly busy. Obviously having the commitment of this as well, have you felt like a little sense of pressure that you've had to keep on top of things more so?
Yeah, definitely more that, stuff that you might sort of let slide, you've got to keep on top of and make sure you've got your head in the game, haven't you? But yeah, no, still enjoying it, mate. Happy
days. And that's the perk of you guys watching what we do. You can sit back, relax with your family, watch the darts, do whatever you want. Matt and I have taken care of all the viewing and the footage that you need to see. So I feel like we need to start jumping into the action that's happened recently. But before we do that, let's get through the questions, I reckon. And also before we do that as well, it worked quite nicely last week. Please, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please can you subscribe? We're still getting a very strong percentage that don't, which I don't mind. Do whatever you want. But once I get to 1,000 subscribers, we can start pitching this live. We can do some more interactive content. So nearly there. I'll shut up soon enough about that. So the questions, we'll do them first because top of the show, innit? An interesting one was sent on the Facebook page, basically talking about the fact that the Irish horses couldn't come over for Kempton, gave them a thought towards Cheltenham. Like, is it something that we should be considering? Should we be looking at British horses to be back in this far out? Maybe. Is it something we should be taking into consideration? So, Matt, what's your thoughts on that? Have you been thinking about it?
Yeah, when you ask the question, I suppose it makes you think. But I'd have to react at the time. Because I probably naturally favour the Irish horses anyway. I couldn't just be backing a horse just because it's based this side of the Irish Sea, just because of that fact. Yeah, I'd have to really like it still, and then cross that bridge if it looks like the Irish aren't going to come over at that point. I think you could get yourself in a bit of a mess if you just start backing just British horses at this point. And I can't see it happen. It'd either cancel the festival or, it's a festival as usual. I can't see it just being a UK-based thing.
Yeah, see, I think from my standpoint, I mean, even if you try and think off the top of your head British contingents that are going to go in, there's probably 3 or 4 that look rock solid now as it is, and their price would obviously shorten up a bit if no Irish came over, but you'd be struggling to start looking at some of the bigger priced British challengers, thinking that you could be confident that they are the best of the British anyway. So for me, Cheltenham was such a big thing, and everyone has a go, didn't they, say, no, it's not all about Cheltenham. I mean, it isn't, but kind of is. So when they're looking at this as an event, and I know they got all the bad press last year, I just suspect that we'll have learned from what's happened at Christmas. When it comes to Cheltenham, if they need to do it, they'll do a 2-week quarantine in this country before they start racing. Yeah. None of the horses are running 3 or 4 weeks beforehand anyway. So that would be my take on it. If it would never get, I cannot see it. We'll never get to the point where Cheltenham would be cancelled because the Irish can't get over it. I think they would let them come over it 2 weeks earlier. Obviously, it depends how things spiraled out of control, but if they spiraled out of control that much, then it would just be off. So Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. And stop thinking that the Irish are going to give us a chance, because that ain't happening either. Another one that was put in, again, I mean, this isn't typically Irish, but kind of, basically suggesting, this on the YouTube, was saying about when we're looking at Antepost bets, really, there's only 4 trainers we should be concentrating on. Obviously, the 2 big kids, Willie Mullins and Elliott, win half the races, 50% of them. And then De Bromhead or Henderson might be other ones to put in there. Like Paul Nicholls doesn't get that many Cheltenham winners, considering the fact that he's like British top trainer all the time. Matt, is that what you do? Do you look at horses and then think, oh, you're trained by a no mark, I'm not interested in you, Cheltenham? Or do you look at specifically, let's go through Willie Mullins' yard or Gordon Elliott's yard, pick them out? Or do you think option C just falls into place, doesn't it? Because they're the best trainers during the year, their horses come to the fore anyway?
Yeah, I'd say probably option B is probably the most likely, especially early doors. I'll definitely be focusing on the big trainers and thinking who's going to be their novice hurdler, who's going to be their novice chaser. And then I suppose as time goes on, it's got to be something really impressive if it's going to be from a smaller trainer that'll make me change my mind and think they're going to beat the big yards come festival time. But yeah, it's probably changed a little bit when you start delving into the handicaps, but definitely early season when I'm looking at novice hurdlers, novice chasers, the big races. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree as well. And it's like, it's not, I don't feel like it's like really that deliberate on my part. I just feel like if you look at the way that races are won, like the key trials and all that sort of stuff, and then you look at bumper horse from the previous year or novice hurdlers from the previous year before, if you've got Mullins and Elliott being so prolific at the festival the year before, within that is going to encompass the decent novice hurdlers that are then going to be novice chasers after. So it kind of falls in line with each other. Yeah. I feel like people that are starting out in anti-post punting probably don't pay as much attention to that as they possibly should. But it's one of those things that, like, even when we talk about it, because we're happy to back multiple horses in the races, we might look at them and then we'll just literally poo-poo each other, won't we? Because we'll just say it's trained by so-and-so, it's just pointless putting it in. And as much as it sounds like almost tongue-in-cheek to say something like that, half the time you are better off just doing that because they ain't going to win anyway. The third and final question encompassed, it's kind of like a duo question. And actually, another one that's quite good, quite topical. It's almost like it's a different show this week. But Willie Mullins brought up the omission of fences. So it happened at Aintree, didn't it? It's happened there the last couple of seasons at that particular meeting. We know it didn't help Frodon last year when they were moaning about it, and then this year again. Willie Mullins then brings it up, and obviously maybe it takes a little bit more of it, but it does change the complexity of a race, surely. The fact, especially when fences are omitted, that it turns predominantly into a bumper. And the reason why chasers is probably the pinnacle of the sport is because it is just that much more than just running around and jumping an obstacle. It's jumping a proper fence, meeting on the right stride, tactics, all that sort of stuff. So what do you think of it? I know from safety perspective, we obviously need to rule them out, but is there an answer to it? Do you say that if you have to omit a certain percentage of the fences, the race should just be run off? Or Matt Chapman mentioned it, gives horses some sunglasses. My favourite one, I was at a race course when there was a fence omitted for low sun, and he said, I can't swear, but it was ridiculous. And then he said, why don't they just make them run the other way around? Like, have to finish on the other side of the track. And I said to him, it's a circuit, mate. They'll be facing the sun at some point. And he was just like, oh, you youngsters, you for today, you got an answer for everything, haven't you? Well, yeah, that's the fact, isn't it? What would you do? What do you reckon?
I hate it. I absolutely hate them being omitted. But like I say, it is a safety thing. But there must be an answer. There must be some way they can tell at the time of year where the sun is and build some sort of, I don't know, blocking out the sun device, Mr. Bernstein. I honestly ain't got the answer, but people who know a lot more about it than me must be able to find a way of changing that, because how often do you see horses come, especially in the home straight, how often do you see jumping of a fence or jumping of a hurdle change the complexity of the finish? And it's jumps racing at the end of the day. That's what we want to see. And yeah, if you're omitting hurdles and omitting fences, it's just not the same. It's not the same type of racing, is it, at the end of the day? So they've got to try and do something, but as to the answer, mate, I don't know really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? And there's a lot of tracks that seemingly don't get affected by it. I guess when they're developing the tracks, building it, they don't really pay attention to where the finish line would be, where the sun would be. They're more looking at roads in and out, things like that, for where they can develop it. I personally feel like it is rubbish, but well, there's not really too much they can do about it. They could try and change start times, bits and pieces like that. They could even change the finish line, stick it on the other side, so they're omitting like a fence halfway through a race rather than being at the end. But I don't know. I feel like it affects so few races that in the grand scheme of it, it doesn't really bother me that much. It's annoying when it affects a grade one, but other than like the Mr. Burns idea is decent. Maybe we should go to it's either that or build a tinted globe that goes over, like a roof that goes over. Indoor horse racing, virtual horse racing. I don't know, but it does spoil things in a way, doesn't it? But
yeah, definitely.
Can't do much about it, can you? And then the other second part of this, where I mentioned Frodon with the omitted fences, he obviously won the King George. What do we think of Bryony Frodon? And then from like his point of view, he was saying, this is from Stephen Stafford, his point of view was that she's a breath of fresh air. She probably just loves the sport. Like I love the whole Frodon Bryony thing myself as well.
Yeah.
But he was thinking, well, I didn't really give him much of a chance going into a King George, and obviously never really gave him a chance for a Gold Cup. But he's now thinking, off the back of that King George, it's maybe the question marks are going around in his head whether Frodon could actually win a Gold Cup. What's your take on the whole Frodon Bryony love affair?
Love Bryony. Yeah, I think she is definitely a breath of fresh air. As for whether he'd have a chance at the Gold Cup, I'm not so sure. I think there'd be a few ahead of him if I was backing now. Albion being one, obviously. But yeah, I think she's really good for the spot, isn't she? And I'd like to see him run well. But it's when he gets taken on, when Frodon gets taken on at the front, and I'm not sure he's so good. Like Min took him on last year, didn't he, in the Rhino, and he's not quite the same horse. So I think in a Gold Cup, he might struggle, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough. And I like his Kempton performance was decent. I said a little while ago after he won the handicap at Cheltenham that maybe he hadn't been back to Kempton since he ran in the Felton, where he was sent off 7-2, either second, fast, something like that. That was the race when Mike White fell, Royal Vacation picked up. But he was well beaten back then. He was such a youngster then. I think he was 5, maybe it might have been 4 years ago he ran there. Felt like the track and trip and all that sort of stuff should be perfect for him like he is these days. But I still didn't think that he should be winning a King George. The fact that he's gone and done it, then, fair play to him. And I know Clanders Oboe stayed on a little bit, but you look at waiting patiently, potentially question marks about his stamina. There was another one that was right up there as well. I can't remember which one that was that came 4th in the end off the top of my head. Anywho, there was like stamina-ish doubts, and the ones that had those stamina-ish doubts were the ones that finished toward the front of it. Even Clanders Oboe, we'd think he doesn't stay the Gold Cup trip there. So it's a big difference, King George to going and winning a Gold Cup. I love Bryony and Frodon though as well. I don't think anyone that doesn't like him's just got something wrong with them, haven't they? Yeah. I know she talks like a little bit, maybe too much about like Frodon being Pegasus. I know it's like a love experience or whatever, but the fact is, it is, isn't it? Like, it's mental that she's even being able to retain that ride is just ridiculous, isn't it? But they do have some sort of freakish bond, the pair of them. And he has seasons, doesn't he, where he runs poor and you think it's like a 150s horse. Then a couple of weeks later, he looks like a 170s horse. I like him. I think he could win a Gold Cup.
I don't, but I do think it's lovely that she speaks about it like that. What do the people who sort of slag that off, what do they want? They want her to just have no connection to the horse. They don't want people to have no connection to the horses. I love it. But I suppose the other thing with Frodon is I didn't think he'd win a Ryanair. I didn't think he'd win a King George. So I don't know.
I got some stick a few years ago when a post came up from someone saying there's not enough grade 2s for horses like Frodon, and they hadn't won a grade 1 then. And I was like, have a day off, mate. He's a potentially grade 1 horse. Let him go in there. Now he's a glorified handicapper. He needs these grade 2s to go in, grade 2 handicaps for him to go and win. Then he went and run the Ryanair. Didn't back him in that. Wins the King George. Didn't back him in that. Never mind. We digress. We need to talk about the Christmas action that's gone in. Obviously, there's been hundreds of bits and pieces. I feel like we should just whittle ourselves down as like. There's been some like bigger races and shocks and stuff that probably are more worthy of talking about. But I want us to whittle it down to our standout performances. So we'll do a little to and fro because I can't remember all of them off like all the results that have happened in there. So I might miss some bits and pieces. We'll do one each until we feel like we've said enough.
Okay.
And then we'll get on with this week's selections. And then by doing the one each, we should be covering everything off. So I'm happily also on this, don't mention the performance of your horse that you're going to put up this week if they ran this time.
Okay.
Because I was just about to do that with my first one. So my standout one, maybe not like the top standout performance of all of it, but like Brave Man's Game today was just wow.
Yeah.
Like we've been looking, I think I said it in the last couple of weeks' videos that I'm looking at the Ballymore market, I'm looking at the Albert Bartlett market to try and think there's got to be something in there at a juiciest price. We said at the start of this that we weren't going to tip up the same as the other show did.
Yeah.
The week that Dave Jennings put up Brave Man's Game, we both WhatsApped him and we were like, fair play, good shout. Yeah. Because at that point we sort of had it between him and Bob Oddinger, and you've slapped Bob Oddinger up. I'm still not sold on Bob Oddinger, but anywho, Brave Man's Game was freak today, stupidly good. And I know Does He Know ran out, and I know people will say that other horses didn't perform, but the way that he turned in, I thought this horse is an absolute good thing. The camera angle at Newbury's brilliant because when they let him sweep through and they go ahead, it looks like the ones behind are catching the ones in front. Yeah. So start like he was getting to him. Then you see that they're not. But I thought, here we go. He's going to win this, ridden out, maybe win by a length, like just come away a little bit. But the fact that when he got a shake of the reins and he absolutely pissed off, like this horse, I would be fairly confident in saying he's 100% in the top 3 of the Ballymore, definitely finished in the top 3. And I cannot for the life of me think of one other horse that could possibly beat him in the Ballymore this year. He looks even like he's still a biggish price now. Obviously, I can't put him up. He's like he looked fairly bomb-proof at the price as well.
Yeah.
Well, Nichols also, sorry, I know I can't stop talking. Nichols also said that he's definitely going Ballymore, so don't have to worry about the Albert Bartlett picture. And he also said they'll look for a soft race before Cheltenham if they're going to give him another run. So, like, this horse is going to go off, as far as I'm concerned, 2-1-ish, and I think he's going to win. I know Denman got beat in the race, the Ballymore when he went there. He won his Challow at Cheltenham. We don't know about Cheltenham form, but he was good, wasn't he?
Yeah, really good, mate. And my only concern with him before today was that he was just a big chasing type horse, but the way he quickened away is just it worries me with my Bob Ollinger punt, to be honest with you. But don't get me wrong, I still think Bob Ollinger's got a really good chance, but that was really impressive today from Bravenon's game, mate.
Boom. So I'm in, and that probably was my performance of the Christmassy week. It's quite recency biased because obviously it was today, so that's why I'm saying, well, I don't know if it was actually my best one. Boom, your one. What do you think of the last few days that jumps out to you?
There's a few in there. I'm going to say appreciate it, though, I think. I'm going to have to say appreciate it, even though he downed my boy Ballyadam. But, yeah, over two miles, I was worried that he wouldn't have the pace for that. But, yeah, really, really impressive, mate, to quicken away, and nothing could live with him, could it? So... And it looks like it is going to be a supreme for him now. So, yeah. It makes me think as well, I know you put Fernie Hollow up, but I think if Fernie was still there, I think it would have been Fernie 2 miles. Appreciate it. Ballymore. But that form from the bumper just looks rock solid, mate. And I think those two are really nice pair. Appreciate it. Yeah, bang on.
Yeah, he was definitely standout when he. Ballyadam was, I think, I don't know if he Dirty Scope or something like that. After Gordon Elliott's had a few of them. Fury Road, was it mucus in the trachea or something like that? There's been a few excuses for some of his horses.
As well.
That's it. But he's had winners, hasn't he, over the week? So like Grandois went in and won. So yeah, I wonder with Ballyadam. I thought at the beginning of the season that maybe he should be a Ballymore-ish type. I don't know what they'll do after. Maybe they'll think of trying him out. They've always said that he's just a 2-miler, isn't they? So they'll probably stick with it. But yeah, appreciate it was just filthy, wasn't he? Like unbelievable. And that's the thing with it. That's where I know I said it on a previous episode, I think, where I liked him sort of ish. Albert Bartlett was in the back of my mind. Might not have been in this, might have been in one of the other previews we did. But like that's one of the key things I find with Albert Bartlett horses. Like it is, I think it's really not necessarily crucial, but I think it's really important to have some 2-mile speed. Yeah. And unfortunately for me, he's obviously just got too much of it. I'm a little bit annoyed because I still think Fernie Hollow would have walked all over him, but very impressive performance. Fair play to you. I'm going to think of another one that's well worth mentioning, and it's almost said through gritted teeth because, like the period in this particular market, how it's gone from a few weeks ago to how it's looking now. Chacon Porth, wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, again, just like Brave Man's game, wasn't it? It was. Phil thought, like performance-wise, he looked more obvious that he was going to go and stretch clear. But I still rate Notebook, and to do what he did to Notebook, like the horses that he's been doing it up against, I just think like it's beyond the point of arguing about him now. He is the best 2-mile chaser in training at the moment, and I know there's the Cheltenham lingering doubt around there, isn't there? But yeah, I mean, he does look like he just wins Champion Chase now. Obviously, slight caveat to that, not caveat, but following on from that is the Altior disappointment, which, as much as it was annoying that our Tingle Creek bet went down, it's probably better that it went down in flames like that than him getting cramped in the Tingle Creek, because that's all I could have seen happen. He would have got beat, wouldn't he? Yeah,
but what's going on with Henderson Jada? That's the other thing now. Whether they're clutching at straws, I don't know, but I still think he's better than getting beat by Nube Negros, surely. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I don't think anything's getting anywhere near Chacon Porth. So bar the two minor caveats. Now he's that short, I suppose you have to start looking at any weaknesses, and the fact he hasn't been around Cheltenham, and the fact he never quite looks that strong in the finish. But it's probably because he's just galloped them all into the ground, and he's got more than enough by the time you get there anyway. He never seems to gallop through the line that strongly to me, but he doesn't need to be honest with you.
No, that's it. And it was unfortunate with Altior because he just looked so poor early on, like literally after jump the first. I know it's like sounds like it's just hindsight and it's all wonderful things to say, but his first jump looked like he ballooned it, didn't he?
Yeah.
But it wasn't even like a good balloon. He's done it before. He's jumped really high. Everyone's like, wow, look how magnificent it was. It was just a little jump like, oh, hang on a minute. It's like he's like, and I know it was a long layoff, but it was like he hadn't seen a race course for a very, very long time. So it's worrying because you see the videos of him scoring at home. They look so good. Hoping they go to Newbury next to him, and the next run is the one that's going to give us answers, hopefully. I'd expect him to, well, he should be starting up in the game spirit at Newbury. So that's where we got until February to think about it, but he might end up still looking like an okay-ish price. But I don't know, Shakon just looked too good, didn't he? Yeah. Another one from you then, Matthew.
Shishkin, gotta be Shishkin, hasn't it?
Nicky Henderson's in terrible form, you just said.
I know, but not when it's Shishkin, Jesus. But he was halfway round. I was having a little wobble with him. I was thinking, little flat spot. Is he going quite as well as he needs to be? But he just blew him away in the finish, didn't he, mate? He's going to win the Arkle, and that's it. Can't say anything living with him.
No, correct. That's literally as simple as it needs to be. Because even the Irish race with Felix de Gier, I don't know what tactically was going on there. We know that he can be a bit of a free, keen-going sort, but just goes to show that the one that was probably the most likely one to think that might take up the rest of the market's gone and not run so well. He just looks another one bomb-proof, and another one for Team GB. Obviously, champion hurdlish picture. We should talk about the fact that EP08 got beat. I can't think of a polite way to say this other than girls will be girls, wouldn't they? Like it's. Well, I don't care what anyone says. They can throw a weird run in every now and again. I know any racehorse can do it, but I notice it more with mares over the years. I'm not saying you can't go and win a champion hurdle now, and it'll be talked about more nearer the time, all that sort of stuff to do with history and bits and pieces. But a mare winning a champion hurdle, you've got to be a very good mare to go and do it. A mare to win back-to-back champion hurdles is like anyone to win back-to-back champion hurdles is decent. For a mare to go and do it, I mean, it maybe sounds sexist or whatever, but I don't know. It's going to be very interesting with her. Whatever caused it, whether it was season, just a poor run, she's now going to be running her next race off the back of a defeat. Silver Streak obviously went out and blew the pace. Tactically, they're going to look at it. The champion hurdle last year was a dawdle. They know how to go and get a beat, so that's going to sort of happen. And then obviously over in Ireland, St. War, Abracadabra is the ones that everyone thought was going to be mopping up. Didn't really live up to it today. Sharjah, the most obvious one to be back in. Probably everyone was punching dogs, cats, everything, because 11-2, won it last twice, second in the champion hurdle. Should have been a lot shorter than that. But I mean, I'm probably being harsh on him, but I wouldn't see him winning a champion hurdle. Blown the race up into smithereens at the moment. I don't want to talk about it too much more because neither of us have got a champion hurdle bet in yet. Spoiler alert. Not spoiler alert. But yeah, am I right just to say we should just probably, the less we talk about it at the moment, the better, because it's just fresh, raw and poor?
Yeah, probably. We probably need to just get our head around it again now, and where do we stand now after that? If Sam Wire had won today, then I think you'd be getting a more clear picture, thinking EP08's flopped. Sam Wire, the one that a lot of people thought was going to come in and be an Irish challenger, has done the business, but he didn't do the business. So, but I don't know. Do we keep underestimating Sharjah? I don't know. It's like you say, I still can't see him winning a champion hurdle. And what is he now? He's sub 10-1 now, isn't he? So.
And I think there'll be people.
It's just a mess.
I reckon there's people that would like him as well. Yeah, we'll leave it there because otherwise we'll get into the 20-minute champion hurdle saga. But that is one we'll pick up at another time when we come to have some balls and put a selection in. Christmas hurdle. The Irish. They thought they got a chance to beat Paisley or Time Hill. Poo-poo in that long walk hurdle race. Saying, they've all finished in a bunch. How good can they be? And then Syed a handicapper. Right. We don't want to be too harsh because he did proved you wrong when you were bullish before about him. But I don't want to take anything away from Florian Porter. But Florian Porter was supplemented, stole the race tactically, probably. The storyteller stayed on. But there was no stairs hurdle winner there for me in the slightest. And I think the stairs hurdle division this year looks better over here than ever. And I just think as much as the Irish have got a few in there, it's very much of a muchness over there year in, year out, I think. And that Christmas hurdle, to me, isn't really the strongest pointer towards a festival winner anyway. So,
yeah, no, I agree with that, mate. I think that they're going to have to improve a whole lot to get anywhere near Paisley and Time Hill. I think that's what you're looking for your winner.
Absolutely. So that's another one for Team GB. Last one we'll talk about is a review of the race. Like I said, I know there's so much we could have talked about. is that Xana here, the Triumphy horse, because I keep kind of wanting to swerve him a little bit, but I half looked at the race thinking, oh man, he's not that good. Then I thought a little bit like the Hardor was going to come and beat him, and then obviously he didn't, and Xana here pulled clear, and I thought, oh, that was really good. I'll be interested if like those two go against each other in the one at Down Royal Festival, the juvenile race. I can't remember what it's called. It's annoying me. That's stupid. Anyway, when they come against each other, because with the juveniles, you get some that are maybe more forward at the beginning of the season, and then you might get one that surges past it. It might be a new kid on the block. But, I mean, he looks pretty good. Everyone was saying that he's a monster, all that sort of stuff. I still just get the feeling that he's beatable. I still can't completely warm to him, but he did all he needed to do, I suppose, didn't he?
I liked him, mate. Yeah, I think he's really good. Yeah, gorgeous looking horse as well. Really liked him. Quilixios has been forgotten a bit for me. That's the only one I'm thinking, maybe he's not run for a while, has he? And maybe get, like you say, recency biased. But yeah, Xana here, I was really impressed with him, mate. I thought he did it really well.
Fair enough. And we obviously didn't get to see the finale over here because Chepstow was abandoned. That has been rescheduled, so we could see the winner of that. There's obviously other races that will be coming out in the short term, which might be pointers to those sorts of races, but again, we'll not talk about anything review-wise too much more. And I don't think there's too much to look forward to. We've got album photo that goes out on New Year's Day. We kind of touched on the big Christmassy races when we did the episode last week. We've probably been talking for way too long now. Most people have probably skipped to around about now because they want to hear the selections. And Matt, I don't know whether it's because it's Christmas or what it is, but I don't even know what we've got in terms of count-wise of how many we should be putting up. But this week, for the viewers at home,
you got three.
I've got three that are going up, and I'll be honest with you, I think I've got three winners. So we need to do some sort of orderish to get them out. I feel like I'm just going to go through. There's one of them I'm just going to put up quick because it's quick. Don't need to say too much about it. So that'll be the first one I'll put up. The second one I'll put up is the middle one, and then the last one. Yeah, I know the order I'm doing them in. Right, sorry, that was a little bit for me. Right, first one's Mick Pasta, Grand Annual. We touched on it before, the whole Shishkin thing, handicap plot. Paul Nicholls does well in the race. Managed to get him, someone got him quoted on William Hill when they priced at the market. 33s he was. That's gone today, gutting, but he's still 25s. I know I said before we want it to be available with multiple bookmakers, but not my problem. Bit harsh, but just I'm struggling to get on. I've had to get a family member to put the bet on for me, but he's 25s now. He's already shortened up a bit. I honestly thought just off the back of that Shishkin eye catching, putting him back, probably the race that he's going to go in. I just thought Grand Daniel was his target. I thought 16-1 plus would have been generous enough. And the fact that he was 33s was monster. The fact he's 25s, if you can get a William Hill account that's got a boost on it, you can get 28, something like that. So no cash out available, but I've got to get him on the team sheet because he's only going to get shorter. So Mick Pasta in the Grand Annual. Happy with that, Matthew?
Yeah, we spoke about him a few weeks back, didn't we? And both spotted him being behind Shishkin. So yeah, it looks like that's the way they're being plotted, mate. So I like that.
Superb. And then the second selection this week is going to be like sensibly. We talked about it before in that question time about putting up the right trainers. I've just put up a Paul Nicholls horse, Clown. But just to balance that out, I'm just going to go for a bit of Willie time now. And it's Champion Bumper Willie time. Just obvious, isn't it? Willie Mullins does so well in the Champion Bumper. Now, I talked before about Take T. I was pretty impressed with. I thought it was the most impressive bumper performance I'd seen this season. Didn't put it up as a selection because as much as I thought it was good, it didn't feel like it was enough to warrant Champion Bumper performance. But Ramillies, 100% was Champion Bumper performance. The thing is, the bumper, the race itself was weak as urine, I guess is the easiest way to say it. As far as I'm concerned, like it looked really, really poor. Willie Mullins' comments pre-race were he needs to improve an awful lot to be winning the race was basically what he said. I think that was more because of the fact that he flopped last year. But the fact that they didn't decide to persevere with him last season in bumpers, and then this season they haven't decided just to go over hurdles with him now because they could have done that time-wise. The fact that they decided to come back down the bumper route, they're talking about the Grade 2 at Down Royal Festival. I think the Dublin Race Festival, sorry, the appreciated one. Like he's ticking all the right boxes as Willie Mullins' main bumper merchant. That Kill Crew it again, like I wasn't overly blown away with his performance. I feel like this Ramillies should be shorter than he is. He's 14 to 1 with just everyone. And I still think that's good value personally. So Ramillies in the champion bumper. I know you've put in Sir Gerhard, and I get his stuff as well. Like the ages that they are, being the older horses, like a bit more forward in bumpers, and it works out nicely. But the Ramillies has got as much of that good stuff going for him as Sir Gerhard has got. And as much as your one and the Fab for the bumper does definitely look the one to beat, Ramillies with natural progression this season, and get by that Dublin Racing Festival and then going into Cheltenham, like I honestly think this horse is massive price. And Ramillies is the second one, champion bumper for me. So Matt, can I get your approval on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with one of Willie's in the bumper, can you? And as much as I think he's probably got to step up again, obviously, and he's not beating Sir Gerhard anyway. So yeah, no, but it's not a bad one, mate. Willie in the bumper, you've got to go with that, haven't you?
Thank you very much. And I feel like, again, timing-wise, for putting certain horses up, like this feels like the right time to be getting him in. He was 16 to 1, he was quoted after the race. I was looking at getting him quoted last week to, like, as a bit of a flyer into this. Probably wouldn't have picked him up as a selection, but just to maybe get some money on myself. He had so many bumper entries over Christmas, like you knew that they wanted to get a race into him for Christmas. And it also makes me feel like because they wanted to get that race in before Christmas, they are expecting improvement. Every single one of Willie Mullins' horses this year has improved for a run. And if that's what he did without... I can't keep going on about him. He's brilliant. A horse that wasn't quite as impressive, but another one that timing-wise, I've got to get him in. Double Willie this week is Statler in the Albert Bartlett. Now, another one, Sky Bet with 33s before this. I think they like quarter to 6 or something like that. The price changed. They've all the way down to 16s. But you can still get 25s, Betfair, Paddy Power. And of course, they've got cash out, 100% cash out. So arguably, they might be the way to play it. And probably because 33 would have been one bookmaker, I would have said the 25s anyway. Anywho, again, it's horses improving for their runs. I thought he was pretty good today. He looks, that was over 2.5. He looks like he wants that bit further. I touched on speed for Albert Bartlett horses. He doesn't quite look as speedy as other horses that I've liked for this race in previous years, but he did enough for me to think that he's only going to improve from it. This does look like the race that he will be going in. And I think that the Albert Bartlett picture still looks fairly murky at the moment. Brave Man's Game's fav now, and he ain't going to the race. Make Good was okay. Fakira has been beaten enough times. Appreciated definitely isn't coming in now. Queensbrook's in there. Stargate was beaten today and well beaten. You know, there's other horses that are in there that aren't going to be coming to this race. And I just feel like off the back of the performance that he's put in today, I know Willie's horses are running well at Christmas, but that's no shock. They always do. 25 still seems too big to me. This horse should be half that price, I would suspect, at this moment in time. And I can only see his price shortening. So, whap Statler in the Albert Bartlett onto your slips. Do you agree, Matt, or not? Come on, you can't keep agreeing with me.
I'm not going to agree because my selection's in the Albert Bartlett as well.
And it's not Statler?
Not Statler, no.
Go on, then.
Now, mine's Farouk Delen, who we both liked from an early stage, didn't we? Probably could have gone up at an early stage. But with the way he jumped right the time before. I'd sort of put a line for him almost. But watching him back over nearly 3 miles last time out, he just jumped so much better, didn't he? He was a lot straighter, but it wasn't just that. It was the fact that he just jumped generally a lot cleaner. Like when we touched on it last week, I think, didn't we? That even when he wasn't jumping right, he wasn't jumping well at all. When they was trying to straighten him up, he was just making a mess of each one. And I just think this week he was far, far better. He's following the same route as Fiore Road did. And it looks like he's going to be the Gordon's Albert Bartlett horse. Gordon's horse hasn't been running that well, and he's still got the job done this week. I think it would have been by a lot further as well if him and the horse that faded into third were taking each other on. And who finished second? Can't remember who finished second now, but he came from a long way off the pace, and he when Farouk started paddling a bit, but that was on super heavy ground when they hadn't been racing the day before. Like you say about a horse having pace for short, they had sort of touched on that he might be a Ballymore horse early in the season. I don't think he's necessarily a Dow stayer. I think he's a good traveller. I just really like him for the Albert Bartlett. He's, like I say, he's following the same route as Fiore Road is, and as long as he can jump straight, I think he'll be decent. 25 to 1. After he'd won at the at the weekend, I honestly thought I'd look at it, it'd be 16-1. So 25-1, I think, is more than fair for a Gordon Elliott, Albert Bartlett punt.
Huge, yeah, mate. I can't really disagree. We did talk about him before, didn't we? And that right-handed jumping was definitely enough of a concern. But I backed him for the race this Christmas because I thought right-handed, this is the time to get a few quid. Can't believe the price that he went off personally. And like you say, it was like a Dower Stairs performance in the end, although he isn't actually a Dower Stair, probably. He's got some speed about him, so he looks like he's got plenty of ability. And the fact that his jumping had improved so much, like it's balmy with novices that, like I'll do it critically, that I want them to be jumping decent from the off. But if a horse, like you, and you don't, I can't really think of any more recent examples, but for Route de Land, if you watch his jumping, he's progressively getting better. Whereas you things like Asterion Forlonge last year, like he jumped right, and although he went and won a Grade 1 while he was jumping right, he got worse and worse potentially, and when he got to Cheltenham, he was even worse. So that's the slight, tiny thing with Route de Land. But I agree with you. With what he's done up to now, the price is probably still too big. So I mean, as much as they're competing selections, although it isn't a competition against each other, it's a competition against the bookies, isn't it? If you were to follow us in for both of those, you back the pair at 25s, you're getting 12-1 each of them, and I genuinely feel like both of these should probably be about a 12-1 poke anyway. So very good, Matt. Is that just you for the week, or can I tickle you in for any more?
No, I haven't done about another, but I'm gonna stick with the one.
Fair enough. So I'll update the list with our selections up to now. It's getting a bit late. I won't update the. I'll try. I'll update the prices that they are currently because a few have shortened up. A few I'm no longer ever going to race again at the Cheltenham Festival, given we put the mockers on them. But so far, like we're coming up to the end of the year, I feel like we're in like an okay-ish position. Obviously, things could have been better with the likes of Fernie, and potentially we could have chucked in some other horses maybe at different times. But overall, I feel like we played this as good as we could have done for this period that we're into now. Again, any questions, comments, opinions on any of the horses, either drop them in the comments or send me a message on the page. I'm happy to answer anything. We get that throughout the season where people want to know opinions and all that sort of stuff. So just let me know and I'll happily reply to them ad hoc on those bad boys. It'll quiet down a little bit now, but then we're into like a really decent period. We have the trials day at Cheltenham. I've got a feeling New Year's Day could be off because there's loads of flooded stuff at Cheltenham. I mean, the form wouldn't be worth anything anyway if they did run New Year's Day, but got Trials Day, Dublin Racing Festival, big meeting at Kempton. There's still some other nice stuff over in Ireland as well. There's like lots of progressive racing that's coming up where we're going to find out more things. But as it stands at this point, I think there's a good time for this week, especially for people to take stock of what they've seen over Christmas, looking at each individual race and start thinking to themselves, look, some of these horses may have shortened up a bit now, but if I haven't got them on side, maybe I need to stop being so stubborn that I've missed a price and start getting a few in there. And also, like I say, don't be scared about backing multiple horses in a race. Just because we're looking at like a Shishkin example where he's an odds-on poke for it now, like you wouldn't want to be backing him and something else now. But like Matt says, that race is sewn up. Potentially looking for some value against him isn't maybe the way to go in terms of backing Antepost for now, but there will be a without market nearer the time. So if you can find what you think might be the next best and you're preparing yourself for when those without markets come in, you're starting to fly ahead. Last year, it was the 7th, or this year, it was the 7th of January, is when the starts of the entries coming out for Cheltenham. So they're staggered over a period of time. I haven't got the exact dates this year, but basically in the coming weeks, we're going to start seeing actual entries for races. So that starts to get a bit exciting as well. And then for things like the National Hunt Chase, horses are going to have to start qualifying. We're going to see handicap marks going in and about all over the shop. So there'll be some interesting clues coming in. But let's not lose sight of what we've seen up to now, because it's very easy to get that recency bias just to remember the more recent performances. Even if you want to do it all yourselves, take stock of what your views are on each race at the moment and multiple horses, because in 3 months' time when we get to near Cheltenham and you want to look back at those, it's handy to know and remember exactly how you felt at this time. Matt, any words of wisdom, pearls of joy, or anything else you want to say?
I suppose one just quick one is that when the bookies start going non-run no bet shortly, they always miss one or two decent value where you think the horse maybe isn't going to go there, but take it non-run no bet while it's a big price, and then they always miss 2 or 3 dot there. There's always some you scoot through it and think he's nailed on for that race, but in the other race is a huge price. Taking non-run no bet, that's probably the one little thing I'd say.
Absolutely. And last year, good mention the non-runner no bet. Last year, I looked at a few horses that were the wrong prices because I felt like when Bet365 were going to go non-runner no bet, they would just make them terribly short. And then I thought my cash outs would go through the roof. Didn't quite pan out that well with the cash out situation last year. So I was backing horses that were basically like 40 to 1 shot for a race, knowing that when it goes non-runner no bet, if they went to the other alternative, they'd be like a 3 or a 4, maybe not that short, like a 10 to 1 poke. And then thinking if I backed them at the 40s, the cash out would go up because I've got the value. Didn't quite pan out. So again, like we were looking at the Irish thing, we mentioned it earlier, don't just start putting these like silly bets in there. But like Matt says, prepare for non-runner no bet coming up, because when they do, they'll miss some prices. So again, going through the races at this time of year, you'll give yourself a list of horses that you quite like the idea of. You'll get a list of horses that you think, oh, I'm not 100% sure where they're going to go, but they're interesting wherever they line up. And then when it's non-runner no bet, sometimes, and probably quite often, you're better to back them in 2 races rather than back the any race market, because non-runner no bet, you're going to get a bit of it back. That's going to change the dynamic of the show, but we're in the beautiful position that we get to pick our bookies. So there will still be bookmakers out there that aren't non-runner no bet. Again, we're not going to go for the piddly little betting accounts that no one can get on with, but all of that will be considered in the way we put our selections up. If the non-runner no bet aspect seems worth doing, we'll be putting that through. And then if the price and taking the risk is worth doing, then we'll be talking about that reasoning too. Is that it, Matt? Do you reckon we're done?
Yeah, I'm done, mate. Lovely.
Superb. Well, thank you again for your support, guys. If anyone's watching this far through, then I was going to say message me and you get a £5 free bet, but lots of people watched to the end last time, so let's not do that. But just I do genuinely appreciate your comments, feedback, all that stuff's really important. We'll do a few more question timey things nearer, and then what I might start doing is maybe set up like a Facebook group or something where we can start getting some polls and bits and pieces going. Once I get the live stuff going, when people are viewing it, I can get polls going and bits and pieces like that. Otherwise, up to now, the people that look at it, it'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on certain races. And even when we're putting our selections up, like I'd like to have some sort of gauge of how many people agree or disagree with us, not just for like big-headedness, but it's handy to know. Sometimes I'll look at something that's an absolute, I think is really good value, and I'll speak to 20 people that maybe I haven't got that many friends, but I'll speak to 2 people that I trust in the game, and both of them will say, mate, you're wrong. You're mad to think that's good value. And that's where it helps with everyone, doesn't it? Just because we're putting them up doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. I mean, mine obviously are, they're all going to win. But, you know, it's opinions game, and we're whittling it down to just us 2. So, yeah, nice to know what you guys think. Thank you for the support. I will shut up. Happy Christmas, Merry New Year, and we will see you in 2021.